Maryland's legislative session ends in less than a month, and there's plenty of things left undone right now, getting bills from committee to crossover day. Maryland's Republican leaders have several bills that they want placed on Governor Wes Moore's desk. Joining us now, State Delegate Kathy Szeliga joins us to share her perspective on the General Assembly session and the White House's recent actions. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, great to be with you, Jason.
Good to be with you as well. We'll start in D.C. since we just left with Ms. Ellsworth. Tell me what you think of moves right now to make government more efficient and more specifically the firing of some of these federal workers. What do you make of it?
You know, Jason, it's always hard when people lose their jobs. And, we're all empathetic to that. And we also know that the United States of America has a looming debt and deficit crisis that has to be addressed. The budget is so big and so ripe with waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's what Americans voted for in November. They said, let's take a look at that. We really need to make a change. And look, I can't turn our country over to my kids and grandkids with a bill that they'll never be able to pay. So I think it's time to address these looming waste, fraud, and abuse problems.
Sure, and I'll say the same thing I said to the Congresswoman, is that some folks, I think, as you said, wanted this, but weren't sure that this was the way it was going to happen. And I'm wondering what you've heard so far from constituents as they watch it all play out.
Right. I think, it's a difficult position that everyone's in. But I do find it very refreshing that President Trump and Elon Musk and the others, Congressman Andy Harris and other leaders in Washington have said, look, we're not going to get this right 100% of the time. And we're going to come back and address and change and shape it going forward. All too often politicians aren't willing to admit they made a mistake and,
Sure.
will dig in. So I think we've seen some of that already. And also some of the waste and fraud that's being uncovered, it's just ridiculous. Some of these grants, hamster fights and, a shrimp on a treadmill, and some of the grants and government spending going for ridiculous projects that American taxpayers' money needs to be respected.
Let's come stateside now here to Maryland. Moody's put out its report and had a grim picture of Maryland, I think because a lot of federal agencies make their home here. So we may end up feeling the brunt of this more than other states. What do you think of that report? And what do you think of the idea of recession here in Maryland?
Yeah, it's very hard to hear that kind of economic news, especially right now when people's electric bills are, sky high. Jason, that is the number one thing that I'm hearing right now as people open those gas and electric bills, that they just can't afford it. They've doubled. It's just becoming really hard for seniors on a fixed income and working families. So the news of a possible recession is tough. We look at neighboring Virginia, who has a very strong federal workforce as well. They went into session in January. They left a couple weeks ago, finished up with a balanced budget and a surplus. Other states have prepared better for this. It is a difficult position that Maryland is in because, unfortunately, they've spent the reserve fund. Governor Hogan left over $4 billion in a reserve fund that would be used for exactly this kind of situation. And unfortunately, most of that was spent. So, we are in a very difficult position right now.
I'm not sure if you're in, because you mentioned this, I'm not sure if you're in on that meeting with BGE, but were you happy with their response as they were being asked questions about how to make utilities more affordable for Marylanders? Were you pleased with what came out of that meeting, or does no more work need to be done there?
I think everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else.
Okay.
But the bottom line is people are looking for relief on their gas and electric bill right now. As part of the Maryland Freedom Caucus, last month we rolled out a 4-point plan that would have delivered immediate relief by getting rid of the Empower fee, pausing state taxes and fees, just like we did on the gasoline tax in 22 when, prices at the pump were unaffordable. And then, of course, dealing with generating more power going forward. It's supply and demand.
Sure.
Maryland is importing 40% of its power right now from Pennsylvania, Oh, and by the way, that power is coming from coal plants and nuclear plants. So, Maryland's in a position now where the very wealthy lobbyists for environmental concerns have come in and really pushed the scales too far the other way. And what we're seeing are unaffordable gas and electric bills.
All right, Delegate, you said at the beginning time's going to fly, and it did. It was good to see you this time around. Take care, all right?
Thank you.
Certainly.